a new report says 91% of American Jews feel less safe than they did last year. The American Jewish Committee is now hoping to educate the public and Connecticut lawmakers about this issue. Katie Cohen is your reporter live at the state capitol with more. Katie, explain.
Cassidy, state lawmakers will be here tomorrow morning meeting with the American Jewish Committee to learn how Jewish Americans are feeling right now. This is all happening after they just released their report about the state of anti-Semitism in America. One key finding after surveying 1,200 Jewish Americans was that most feel anti-Semitism in the U.S. is a problem today. 46% say it's a very serious problem, and 47% said it's somewhat of a problem. 15% of Jewish Americans also said the Hamas terror attacks on Israel on October 7th, 2023 made them feel a great deal less safe. 36% said it made them feel a little less safe. And overall, compared to 1 year ago, 91% of Jewish Americans say they feel less safe. When the American Jewish Committee surveyed over 1,000 members of the general public, the results changed a lot. 42% said anti-Semitism is somewhat of a problem. 5% said it's not a problem at all. Leaders with the organization say they hope lawmakers will understand why these differences are so dramatic so it can help them improve legislation to protect the Connecticut Jewish community.
Our lawmakers have the responsibility to, first of all, call out anti-Semitism publicly and clearly. That means making sure that people who are espousing hate should not have platforms, whether in our political process or on social media or in any kind of other venue. It is important that we espouse free speech, of course, but we cannot espouse hatred towards any community.
Social media is a major point of concern for the organization. They say they hope they can stop the spread of misinformation, which they say leads to hatred. We expect to learn more about that tomorrow at 10 a.m. Your reporter live in Hartford, Katie Cohen, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.
Thanks, Katie.